All right, we're pretty close now. So we can obviously see the user list and follow and unfollow individuals. And we can also post tweets using the tweet dialog that we've created there. So our final challenge is to allow users to view their Twitter feed, i.e. all of the posts of the people that they're following. So we'll need a new activity to do that. So we'll go for a good old empty activity. And I'll give it a better name this time. So I'll call it feed. And again, this is going to have a fairly simple layout. We're just going to use a list view. And this one I'll call feed list view. But this time we're actually going to use both the item and the sub item for the first time. So we're going to have the item being the tweet and then the sub item being the person who did the tweeting. So let's see how we do that. It is something we haven't done before. So we'll create our list view, and that's feed list view. And it's a list view. Finding it by its ID, r.id.feed list view. And now the data for our list view can't just be a simple array list this time, because we're having two pieces of information, both the content of the tweet and the username of the person who wrote it. So for that, we're going to use a list of maps. And our map is going to map a string to another string. And I'll call this tweet data. And this will be a new array list, again, of maps mapping strings to strings. So we have seen maps before. They're like dictionaries in other languages, and essentially they allow you to link a particular word, in this case, or a string, to another string. So to set this up, let's create a simple loop that will create 5 tweets for us so that we can see how it works before we connect it to our parse server. So we'll start with an integer I less than 1. We'll keep going as long as I is less than or equal to 5. Increment I each time. And then for each one, we'll create a map, string to string, which will be our tweet info. And this will be a new hash map. Again, string to string. And then we just add our data. So tweet info dot put, and then we'll have the content of the tweet will be tweet content, and then just to differentiate between them, we'll include the I, and we'll need to convert that to a string. So int integer dot to string I. And then similarly for the user, we'll put the username, and that will be user plus integer dot to string I. So that should give us 5 tweets. And then we're going to combine them all into tweet data. So tweet data dot add, and then we're going to add tweet info. There we go. So tweet data now contains 5 maps, which themselves contain some content and a username. Now we need to attach them to our list view. And this time we're not going to use an array adapter. We're going to use the slightly more complicated, but ironically named simple adapter, which is fairly simple, but it's more complicated than an array adapter. So let's call it simple adapter. And we set it up in much the same way as before. So new simple adapter using this as the context. And then we use our list, as you can see there. So that's going to be our tweet data. And then we give the layout. So we're used to using android.r.layout.simplelistItem1. But this time we're going to use simplelistItem2 because it will allow us to have two different bits of text. And then we're going to create an array of strings which is going to contain the names of the objects, so i.e. the content and username. So that will tell our code where it can access the variables that we want. And then finally we say where we want those two bits of information to go, i.e. the content and the username. And we want them to go in the default place, i.e. we want the first one to be where item 1 is there, and then the second to be where sub item 1 is. So we create an array of integers. And this is going to be two integers, which are essentially the IDs of the locations where we want the tweet content and the username to go. And the IDs of these default options, i.e. there and there, are android.r.id.text1 and android.r.id.text2. Phew. So a rather epic line to set up our simple adapter, but hopefully that all makes sense. Then all that remains is to take our list view and set the adapter to our simple adapter. All right, so now we should have those two bits of information for each row of our table. Of course, we will need to actually get to that location of our app. So I'm going to add it to the menu. I'll do it below the log out button. So we'll have an ID of view feed and a title of your feed. There we go, and then back over to main activity, or main to activity actually. And in the options menu here, we'll look to see if item.getItemID, so that's the ID of the menu item that's been tapped. Here's r.id.viewFeed. Then we just want to jump to that new feed activity. So intent is new intent with the application context and feed.class. And then start activity with that intent. And there we go. So let's take a look. We should now find that we've got this extra menu item that will jump us to our feed and show us on a list view both the content and username of these 5 tweets that we've just generated using our for loop there. And if that works, all that remains is connecting this up to a parse server query so we actually get the tweets live from the server. And here we go. So let's tap on the menu and your feed. And there we go. So you can see it's created this list view that we wanted with the tweet content and then the user underneath. Superb. So So now all that remains is to change this code to actually get the data from our parse server. So we'll do that, of course, with a parse query. And this is going to be on parse objects. I'll call it query. And it's going to be a parse query.getQuery on the tweet class. Now, you'll be aware that we only have one tweet so far, and that was done by me, so we don't want to display that. So let's just add a few random tweets. So we'll do one way around. So we'll have a hi dad tweet from Tommy. We'll have a tweet from Ralphie saying, I like diggers. And then we'll have another one from Tommy just to show that we want to order them by date, not by username. Saying, what's for dinner? Okay, so we should get the most recent at the top. So we want what's for dinner, and then I like diggers, and then hi dad at the bottom. Of course, you could order yours differently if you like, but that's what I'm going to go for. So let's write our query. And we want to find where the username is anything that we are currently following. So we can use the method where contained in, and then we're looking for where the username is contained in the list of people that our user is following. So that's parse user dot get current user dot get list, and then is following. And then we want to order it by the date, which, if you'll remember, they're given an automatic date created at. So I'll use that. And then we just set the number that we want, and I'll go for 20. Like that. All right, then we run our query. So find in background with a new find callback. And then, as usual, we'll check to see if E is null. And then if we have some objects, and if that's the case, we'll loop through them. So for parse object, which I'll call tweet, in objects. So for each of those, we want to create our tweet data here. So I'm going to copy this down, because this is more or less what we want to do. Here we go, but we only want to create that list once. So let's start by creating that, and we don't need that for loop anymore because we're looping through all of the tweets on our parse server. So we still want to create the tweet info map each time, and then the content this time is going to be tweet dot get string. And then the string, let's just check what it is. It's tweet. And then the username is tweet.getString and username. There we go. And then we want to add that to tweet data. And then when we're done, we'll create our simple adapter and then we'll update our feed list view. And we may just need to update this to feed.this as we're inside a closure here. And the feed list view, I think, will need to change to be a final so we can access it in that location as well. All right then, let's take a look. So remember, if all is working, we should see What's for Dinner at the top by Tommy, and then I Like Diggers by Ralphie, and then Hi Dad by Tommy as well. Let's take a look. And here we go. So let's jump over to your feed. And there we go. That is exactly what we wanted, in the right order. Only one slight change there. I forgot to set the name or the title of the activity. So let's just do that to your feed. There we go. And of course, the user can just press back to go back to their user list if they want to. Excellent. So that takes us to the end of our Twitter app. I hope you enjoyed making this one, and as always, that you made a good portion of it yourself. In the next section, we're going to build a related but quite different in functionality app, and that is a WhatsApp clone where you can message individuals directly. For now though, take a quick break, have a cup of tea, and I'll see you at the beginning of the next section.